Pluto. I'm back to Korean movies because apparently that's my life now. So I finished watching Shut Up Flower Boy Band and that fucked me up. I came for Lee Min-ki and I stayed for Sung Joon and I was like, fuck it, I'll look up his movies and his dramas, and now I have a giant list of Sung Joon dramas that I need to watch. And this movie. So the trailer looked interesting. It reminded me a lot of After School. And that's a movie that I fucking loved. After School was like years ago, and I think it's from the director of Boy A, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might be the director of Simon Killer, isn't it? It's the director from Simon Killer. But anyways, After School starred Ezra Miller, and that was such a good movie. And this one reminded me of that, even though the story has nothing to do with it. The atmosphere really reminded me of that. And this movie I really, really enjoyed it, even though it gets ridiculous at the end at points, but I really fucking enjoyed it. It's about this private school. It's like a boarding school where there's a group of students that are the top 10 students. And Seung-joon is number 1 always. And he's sort of the leader of this group that they study together. And this new kid wants to get into that club. He wants to have good grades, and he wants to get in there. What happens is these kids, they study a lot, and they have money. They have a lot of money, and they can afford private tutors. And this movie goes into the educational system in South Korea and how important it is to get good grades. And it's fucking crazy, like the length some kids go to get a grade. And I mean, the movie starts off with a suicide note from a kid in 6th grade. Like, that's the tone of the movie, because he couldn't get good enough grades. So, and we know that in Asian culture it's a big thing, there's a lot of pressure to get into college and get an education, and these kids are so stressed out. So this kid really wants to go in and get into this group. And that was the first problem I had with this movie. The fact that he was always, like, on their dick. Like, leave them alone. They're not doing anything wrong. At first. You think they're not doing anything wrong. They're rich kids. Like, it's not their fault that they're rich. And they study a lot. They actually deserve the grades that they're getting. And he, like, kept going after them as if they were doing something wrong. And I'm like, you're not doing anything wrong. So that was my first issue. But I got over it because it turns out that they aren't, like, the best people ever. But even so, it was a bit ridiculous that right at the start he's, like, on them all the time when they're not doing anything wrong. And then the second problem I had with the movie, which I guess get over it, right, was the fact that they actually accept him into their group. They have absolutely no reason to accept him. Except for, I guess, amusement, fun, entertainment. And it turns out that they are involved in a lot more than just studying this group. They go on rabbit hunts. And that's where the movie gets crazy. And it turns out that they are very crazy, violent people. So now this kid is, like, stuck there. And it's like, if I get good grades and I get into the top 10 and I push one of them out, they're gonna fucking destroy me. But then what am I doing this for? I'm trying to join their group so I can study with them because they have, like, special notebooks with notes and share, like really advanced stuff for the exams and shit. And he's like, I'm doing all of this so I can get the notebooks and I can get good grades, but then if I push them out, they're gonna fucking destroy me. So it was very interesting to see the dynamic of him trying to balance going on these rabbit hunts and doing awful shit, and then kind of being scared of pushing them out as well. And the movie begins with Seung-joon dying. That's the way it's set up. He's the leader and he's dead. So who killed him? And the main kid gets arrested and sort of begins from there. And, you know, it's flashbacks and present day, past tense, all that. And it's the mystery of how did we get here? It was just a study group. How is the leader dead? Who killed him? What happened? Was it the main kid? Was it other people? What happened? So it was a good mystery. I really liked it, and it showed, you know, it's a very exaggerated thing, but it showed that kids can go fucking crazy over school. And I just had an exam today, and like everyone was freaking out at school, and I was freaking out too. Like, I want to get good grades, but I'm not at that level where it's like, oh my god, like these people were losing their minds. And in this movie, they were going just like to lengths and beyond, like, oh my god, just you'll survive, you get into college, like, don't worry about it. And even if you don't get into college, like, life isn't over. It was very interesting to see that part of it, and I love the way it was shot. There was like these spinning shots, overhead shots. Those shots were everything, honestly. Like overhead spinning shots and shots of the school, and the school looked creepy. It's like a boarding school in the middle of nowhere, you know. It's a creepy place, and that's why it reminded me of After School, because that was like the same situation, and that was also about students freaking out over something. So I really enjoyed it. Pluto, and it's called Pluto because they keep talking about Pluto, and the song that Pluto sings, I guess, and you can only hear it when you die and things like that. It's very like deep and artsy, and I really enjoyed it though. It's like an artsy movie. It was very dark. And the main kid was good. The main kid was a bit too, you know, he was a bit too, like, with the emo haircut and, like, a little bit too pouty for my taste. His acting was, like, life isn't fair, you know. But Seung-joon was great. I really liked his character. He had an interesting character in the sense that he was good at everything, but why? Why was he good at everything when he didn't even care about it? So, and how did he become the leader of these people, and how did he get involved in this? And it was interesting. Pluto, I really enjoyed it. That's definitely one of like the better Korean movies I've seen lately. Yeah, and I'm gonna check out maybe more from this director. I think they made like a big deal in the trailer that he was the director, and I was like, okay, sure. I guess he's done other things. I'll check him out. Maybe I'll check him out. So, yeah, Pluto. Educational system. Oh my god, we need to fix that. We need to fix the fact that our children are freaking out over shit like this. And again, it's very exaggerated, but I'm sure it happens somewhere. Like, shit like this happens somewhere. Like, yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 알파.
용의자가 도주나 증거인멸 소지가 없으면 풀어줘야 되는 거 아닌가요? 48시간 이내에.
야,
너희들이 내게 불리한 증언을 한 것 같던데.
명왕성이 퇴출되었어요. 태양계 행성 지를 갖기에는 질량도 너무 작아요.
완전 부재네. 단지 모양이나 질량, 거리만 가지고 별의 지위를 판단하는 건 말이 안 돼요.
쟤들은 각자 틀린 문제를 분석해 자기네끼리 스터디 그룹 만들어서.
이제 됐지? 감옥, 너희 스터디 나도 껴줘.
우리 스터디에 아무나 들어올 수 없어.